pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everyone. This is Monday, May 15th. If you have any questions or business with this council, come to one of these microphones and give us your name and address and state your business. We're going to make one quick change here on this agenda. We're going to flip number 5 and number 6. We'll do the presentations before the public hearing on the budget. Call the roll, please.
Cedar?
Here.
Ellery?
Here.
Kinsfater?
Here.
Kleeman?
Here.
Koopa? Laporte?
Here.
McCartney?
Here. Motion to excuse member Koopa.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Thank you.
Excuse Mr. Kufa. Go to number 4, consent agenda, City Council minutes of May 1st, 2017. Regular meeting, recommendation approved.
So moved.
Support.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, let's go to the new number 5, which is going to be presentations. We have the St. Clair County Library System annual update and the 100th anniversary.
Mayor, Council, for those who don't know, my name is Dan Lockwood. I'm the representative for District 6 of the St. Clair County Library System. I represent St. Clair, Marysville, and Fort Gratiot. And I'm here today with Allison Arnold to do a presentation on the St. Clair County Library System. This year, the library is celebrating its 100th anniversary. And we want to go around and just tell everyone just what the library does. We're not going to give you a lot of numbers, but we will give you some. So, Allison, you want to start?
Thank you so much for your time tonight. I really appreciate being able to share the library system with you as well as your branch. I'm going to go through these slides fairly quickly, and then if Mr. Lockwood has anything he'd like to add, he's going to jump in. But for those of you who are not as familiar with the library system, we have 11 locations across the county. The St. Clair branch is one of our largest branches.
Just before we go on, one of the things I want to point out is a county library card is good at any branch, and also at any branch. Most of the branches do have conference rooms, and if you're a community group or a business and you have a need of a conference room, these are available to you, provided they're not booked by someone else. But just to let you know, they are available, and they all have Wi-Fi.
Okay. Now, I don't want to throw too many numbers at you, and these numbers here are system-wide. So if you're looking at population of the county, the number of library card holders, the number of patron visits to all of the county library branches. But what is very interesting...
Well, let's just go on. On the library card holders, we only have about 36,000 people who are actually active library card holders. So by that I mean really use them. That's important for the next slide.
Yeah. Dan and I have only done, this is our first time doing the dog and pony show, so we're getting used to each other here. In St. Clair, for the St. Clair branch, we actually have almost 7,000 library card holders that call St. Clair branch their home branch, which is actually very interesting because the population of St. Clair in 2016 was just over 5,200. So you're pulling people from outside of your immediate community into your downtown and using the branch. You're seeing at the St. Clair branch about 190 patrons a day. That's a really nice, busy branch for your community.
What I want to point out is 1/6 of the active cardholders use St. Clair as their library. St. Clair, as she said earlier, is the second busiest library, which is surprising because we're not the second largest population. And Julie made a comment too when I was talking to her about this, is that what she finds interesting is the number of people who will come to the St. Clair Library and check in books that they have checked out from other branches. And I tell you this because St. Clair Library draws people to downtown St. Clair.
Now comes the fun stuff, because the numbers, yeah. Our collection is actually pretty varied. You'd expect to find nonfiction books and fiction books and books on tape, well, CD, and movies. But we also have non-traditional library collections. We have collections of puppets. We have collections of magazines. We also have collections that are in a different format from your print. We also have electronic collections and that fit into many of those categories. And I know, Dan, you want to talk about the fishing poles?
Yeah, well, before we get, one of the great things about being part of the library is that if the St. Clair branch does not have the book you want, you can order it through the library system. If you have a library card and you've registered, you can order it from home and it will be delivered to the St. Clair branch. You will receive an email and a phone call if you've given them that information telling them the book is waiting for you. And by the way, it doesn't have to be a book. It can be an audio or it can be a movie. Also, because they're part of the state system, you can get any book pretty much of the collaborating libraries. I just picked up one that came from Grosse Pointe that was delivered. I was surprised. It came in about 3 days from the time I ordered it. So that worked out good. And then the part that I really like to point out is all the branches in the St. Clair Library, if you're 12 and under and have a library card, you can rent a fishing pole or borrow a fishing pole and a tackle box. These are maintained by the Blue Water Sportsman's Club. Club members come to every branch several times during the year to make sure that the fishing poles work and the tackle boxes have the appropriate inventory in there. So we really do want to encourage the water resources that we have available to us.
Not only do we have traditional collections and non-traditional collections, but we also have traditional services and non-traditional services. We have reference and information services. We have computers for patrons to use, but we also provide free computer classes. We provide instructional programs for all ages, including intergenerational programs. And then we also have library services for the disabled. That's our library for the blind and physically handicapped. I'll talk about that a little bit later. We're the county law library. And we also have a partnership with the St. Clair County Literacy Project, which allows for literacy tutoring one-on-one that is, it preserves people's dignity. It's for adults. So if folks have literacy issues and they want to learn to read better, that's a partnership that we have.
The wireless system is part of RESA's, and I don't know if you're familiar with that one, but that is a glass fiber system. It's probably one of the fastest systems in the county. It's particularly interesting is that if you have poor access at your house, you can come and download information at the library. And I want to point out that the wireless system runs 24 hours a day, even though the library is closed, so you could sit out in the parking lot and access the wireless system, and that happens at every branch.
One of the things about the wireless system, I don't know if you were going to say something, but because we are a public library, we do filter our internet. So when folks are using the library's Wi-Fi if they're at a shift change at midnight and they need to use the Wi-Fi, and they have a library card in good standing, they can get on, but it is filtered, which means that there wouldn't be the opportunity for patrons to sit in the parking lot and
Adult material.
take part in nefarious activities because their library card would not allow them to get into our system to that extent. We also have access to databases. Now, I know everybody's really pretty comfortable with Google, but the interesting thing about Google, and I'm sure you've all heard this, is that you could end up with any number of unviable websites that come up when you do a search. You could do a very simple search and come up with hundreds of millions of hits on Google. The nice thing about the databases is that they are vetted. They are librarian vetted information, so you can trust that it's good, accurate facts. So one of the neat things that we have, I'll just talk about a couple of them. Tumblebooks is a database that will read children's books to the children. So they actually show the page of the book. When the word is spoken, the word on the page lights up, so the child sees the word and what it looks like and hears what it sounds like. So it then reads the story to the child. That's a really wonderful thing. World Book Encyclopedia, you know, those big, long encyclopedias that we would have to buy every year. online, it's interactive, which is extremely exciting for students because not only can they see giraffes moving in a video, but they can then read about how giraffes live, what they eat, that sort of thing, and it's all interactive. And that World Book also reads to the child. So if you've got a student who has waited until Sunday evening to say, oh my gosh, I've got a report due tomorrow, you can access this databases, all of these databases, most of them, from home using your library card at very convenient, it's convenient for you. And if you don't have internet at home or your internet is slow, we are open, or the internet or Wi-Fi is open 24/7, so your kid can come sit in the car with you while you sit there impatiently tapping your foot while they do their homework.
I just want to comment, as Allison alluded to, some of the databases are not available from home. You have to go to the library, and one of them is Ancestry. The library, this is the Ancestry.com, which most of you see a lot of advertising on. Again, it's accessed only at the branches. The Chilton Automotive is really good if you want to do repairs of your car and you want to do the service books. This is where you can access that. Gale courses, I can't say enough about the Gale courses. This runs the gamut. I have not found a course on there that I haven't, I mean, everything I've looked for, they've got something. There's a lot of courses on computer courses such as Excel, Word. There's photography courses for Photoshop, both elements and then the full CC. There's another course on there which is really interesting. They have a number of courses on programming. And right now there's a big buzz in the world about kids should learn how to program. You can go on here and you have a choice of about, I think there's 6 different languages they can do. And they also do have an introductory courses on how to write games for iPads. Or
I like your
iPhones.
Mango.
I'm sorry, what?
I like the Mango.
I was going to bring up Mango. Mango is a language course if you've heard a lot of Rosetta Stone. This is a very similar product to that. It's interactive. So you learn a language, you learn words, you speak them to the computer, and according to Allison, her husband is taking this. He's 1/3 proficient in Spanish. Yeah. And then the Times Herald on there, if you don't have a subscription to the Times Herald, you can use that and access the Times Herald.
There we go. Okay, now I did speak very briefly earlier about our electronic collections. We subscribe to a number of platforms. Overdrive is ebooks and e-audiobooks that you can download and read, and that's a one-user, one-checkout kind of platform. Hoopla is our streaming media program, and that one allows for TV shows, videos, also graphic novels and comic books, as well as music and reading material, electronic books and electronic audiobooks. The nice thing about Hoopla is that it's not a one-user, one-checkout. So if you have an interest in a title and you can't find it available in the library in print, and we don't have it in Overdrive because somebody's already using it, and it's available in Hoopla, you will be able to get that and not have to wait for it. Zinio is a magazine or digital magazine distribution, so we have over 200 titles with magazines that you can download. The nice thing about the Zinio is that you can download these magazines and they never return themselves. So if you are a collector of magazines or you like cooking magazines and you know that there are recipes in certain issues, you can download those onto your device and they'll live there until you get rid of them. So you don't have piles of magazines taking up space in your home. MEL.org, or the Michigan Electronic Library, is it's a suite of databases above and beyond what the library system, your library system, already subscribes to. So it is just value added. And the MEL Electronic Library is paid for almost entirely through IMLS or Information Library Services. It's the federal government pays for that suite of databases. So as things change, or if things change in the future, that may not be available to us, but that allows the library then to rely more heavily on the databases that we subscribe to.
The nice thing about the digital books is that you can access them any place. You can access the internet. And the great thing about them, there's no late fees because the book is deducted from your computer on the date that it's due.
And the board member says that cringing because the late fines do help us with our revenue, but that's okay. All right, the Library for the Blind and Physically Handicapped. We've changed the model of this a little bit. We've aligned with the state, and it's now called an AOC, or an Advocacy and Outreach Center. And basically what we do is we serve 4 counties. We provide reading material or audiobooks and special devices for folks who have vision or hearing problems as free matter for the blind. So there's no cost to this particular population to use the library. And what it does is it helps to bring these folks back into the community, and so they're not so isolated. They can read magazines, they can read newspapers, and they can read books. We also have a collection of described videos, which are very interesting for sighted people to watch, because you could close your eyes and they tell you the sky is blue and the clouds are, puffy and that kind of thing. But we have a fairly small number of folks that we're serving right now, but we're going to be working on reaching out as our population ages. This is a service that will be very valuable to our communities. Home Connections is another aspect of our Library for the Blind and Physically Handicapped. What we have done over the last few years is developed a program that will allow for the library to mail to anyone who is homebound. So if you've had surgery and you can't get out, we can mail you information and books and audiobooks at no cost to you as a library patron. And you can keep that as long as you need, and then you would return it, again, at no cost to the patron. So if you're a senior and you don't travel well in the winter, you can sign up for Home Connections and get newspapers, magazines, books through the post with no need to come into the library if you're uncomfortable with that kind of travel and that kind of weather. And the computer classes. We've been doing computer classes for the public as long as I've been with the system, and I've been with the system for 17 years. And when they hired me, I was pretty darn sure that I was going to work myself out of a job, because you would think that people, after a certain amount of time, they would become very comfortable with the use of the computer and all those changes that are coming up. But that's not the case. Our classes are still pretty full. St. Clair, not so much.
Yeah, I was going to make a comment. The library needs 3 people to sign up for a course for them to hold it. So we really encourage people that once you decide you want to take the class, don't wait till the day before to sign up. Sign up right away. And some of the classes do fill up quite fast. The ancestry classes, particularly, are usually closed out almost as soon as they're posted.
And last year, in 2016, the library system held 270 computer classes, and the demand is still there. The demand is still there as people see changes in their work, as they see the need to upgrade their skills. The library is there in the classes. They can take the classes as many times as they'd like to. There, again, is no cost to the patron for these. And we do have some special collections. Some of you may be familiar with the Michigan Room. That is a historical document collection that is housed at the main library up in Port Huron. We have a genealogy club that meets there regularly. There is a segment of the DAR that meets up there regularly. And basically we keep all kinds of documents. We have some old bank books, we have fire insurance maps, we have all kinds of wonderful, fun stuff. And it's not too terribly dusty down there. We do have a government documents depository, and we actually, as the St. Clair County Library System, we are the 2nd oldest government depository for the state of Michigan. So we've got a lot of information. What we've done lately, though, is we have transferred information or transitioned the collection from a print collection to more of an online collection, because that's how patrons are using government information anymore. That's how they're accessing government information. So if you're interested in agricultural numbers for the, I don't know, it could be anything government that government produces. One of the other reasons we moved to a more digital collection is because the government isn't printing as much anymore either. So our collection in print has reduced greatly, but our access to our digital government information has increased. And then we also have a small business support collection. This is a collection that we'll be working on building and strengthening. We've always had information for small business creation and entrepreneurship, but we now have a librarian who is dedicated to these special collections, and she's working on strengthening what we've got and filling in holes, and we'll be starting doing some programming centered around small business support as well. And then, with our 100th anniversary, we're doing something that's a little bit new for us, but we've been successful so far, and I'm excited about it. We've got a speaker series. Mr. Garth Stein and Dr. Temple Grandin have already spoken. Both of those programs were very well received. Garth Stein, we had over 300 people, and Dr. Temple Grandin, we had over 500 people. We used the East China PAC, and it was a wonderful experience, beautiful building. Mr. Jay Asher will be speaking in September. Mr. Asher was the writer of 13 Reasons Why, which there's been a lot of hubbub about because Netflix just made that into a series. And then Gail Carson Levine wrote the Ella Enchanted novels, which if you have a 16 to 20-something young woman in your life, they will probably have read the Ella Enchanted novels. So we're very excited to have both of those speakers. Interspersed, we'll be having birthday parties at each of our branches, and I believe St. Clair's is the...
St. Clair is going to celebrate the 100th anniversary on September 30th, which just happens to be Whistles on the Water. And so we hope to see everyone there.
Yeah. And we will also be having a system-wide celebration at Main Library on September 29th in the evening. We will have the state librarian there, the director of Michigan Library Association, and some other dignitaries. We'll read some proclamations, but the fun part will be Terry McMillan will be coming and speaking briefly. She actually was a page at Main Library when she was in school here in Port Huron. So it's kind of an exciting thing for us to have her come back and look at the building and say, well, nothing's really changed there. But to see her home branch and speak there. So
Thank you.
Thank you,
very
Allison.
much.
Thank you, Dan. All right, then we will go to 5/6B, Market Solution provided by Signature Associates, Dan Casey from the EDA.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, it's good to be back in front of you tonight in the dark again. Thanks, Mike. I'm here this evening to talk about a proposal we've received from a national real estate brokerage firm, Signature Associates, for the listing of the St. Clair Industrial Park property. I want to tell you a little bit of history of how we got to this point with this particular proposal. First of all, last year, EDA, in looking at our marketing strategy for the industrial park, felt like we needed support, we needed some more assistance in trying to market the property to a larger network. And the easiest way to do that is with a real estate firm, particularly one that has a national reach and specializes in industrial. And so in the latter part of the summer, we wrote an RFP and sent it out to all of the real estate brokerage firms in the Metro Detroit region that met that profile of being national in reach. We received one proposal back, so we were a little disappointed in that. We thought about bringing that in front of you. However, we didn't feel that the company that submitted the proposal, Heyman Company, really met our definition of national. They were a local firm that does not specialize in industrial. Local meaning they were from Metro Detroit, but they really focused more on commercial and apartments and a little bit of industrial, and they certainly weren't a national company. So we chose not to proceed, but what we did do is we started calling some of the big brokerage firms in the latter part of the fall to inquire about their interest in leasing the property. That led us to a meeting about 2 months ago with Signature Associates. This is one of the 2 largest brokerage firms in Michigan for industrial type projects. I've had the good fortune to work with them on many different projects in my career. I think very highly of them. They've got some great brokers, and they do a lot of deals in and around the Metro Detroit area. They have a couple of listings in St. Clair County currently, and so we thought that they would be a good fit. Another one that we've talked to is Colliers International, and they have a broker from St. Clair County who had a couple of listings last year. Unfortunately, he passed away, and after he passed away, Colliers did not feel like they had a broker who really knew our market, so they chose not to submit a proposal. Signature, however, has a broker who's from St. Clair County who's currently living in Macomb, but he knows our market really well, and he's already got a couple of listings here, in particular in Ira Township. So we reached out to him. He expressed immediate interest, and like I said, a couple of months ago we had a meeting with him and a couple of other members of Signature Associates, and at that time they said they'd like to submit a proposal. So that's what's in front of you today. A little bit about the proposal. The language in here that relates to things like the broker fees and so forth, that's all pretty standard language for a broker type listing. In particular, they're requesting a 6% commission. It would be a 5% commission if a broker within Signature originates the project, so it goes down by a percentage point. But both of those are standard in the industry. Secondly, one of the things that Signature does that I really like is they've worked out arrangements with local real estate companies, in particular Kramer and DeLacy Real Estate in St. Clair County, so that if one of those 2 firms originates a project, they treat them like they're a Signature broker. So they have agreements with them to do that. So it doesn't cut out local brokers. However, the advantage of Signature is really their national reach and their marketing capability. One of the things that they can do that EDA cannot do is they can post the St. Clair Industrial Park site on all of the national real estate brokerage sites. We're restricted because we're not a real estate brokerage firm. So we can put it on CPICS because we have a license with them. We cannot put it on CoStar, SIOR, or any of the other national brokerage sites. So that's one of the advantages of having a firm like a Signature Associates list the property. Not only do they have the marketing capability and the funding and the people to do that, they also have the national network and the ability to list the property in places that we can't. So the other thing that was important to me when we met with them is what kind of a relationship would Signature and EDA have? And they said, we want you to come with us on appointments. When we're showing the property, we want you to be there. They want us to be part of the team to assist them in landing projects here. One of the other points I wanted to make too is this does not eliminate the possibility of another approach to marketing the property, which is to do an RFP for a preferred developer. If you should choose in the future to do that, to go out to the development community and find a particular developer or builder, like when Vince Cataldo was here and was interested, you can still do that if you choose to, because you're not actually selling the land to them at that time. However, if they were to bring in a project and then purchase a portion of the property in the future, they would be responsible for paying a commission to Signature Associates. One of the things you'll see in this agreement is that whether Signature originates the lead or the project or not, they still get the commission. And you would say, well, why would we agree to that? Again, this is standard language. in these listing agreements. And the reason is because they're going to be putting a lot of money into marketing and into those resources. Sometimes those efforts generate things like word of mouth. And it's pretty common in this industry that investors or companies will try to bypass real estate brokers. In other words, they would come directly to Mike Booth, for example. They would just call him up and say, hey, Mike, interested in looking at that property and buying it? They know very well that it's being listed, and they're trying to bypass the brokers. So the brokers try to get around that problem by incorporating in their listing agreements that they're protected, no matter where the lead originates from. That's also a recognition of all the money that they're spending to market the property.
So Dan, if the MEDC gets a call and the MEDC directs it to you, you're going to direct it to Signature?
Well, we will participate in the project, so we would still submit the proposal to the state like we always do. When the company comes out and looks at the property, we will call Signature and make sure that they have a representative there. In addition to that, part of Signature's responsibility is to participate in the closing process. So they will develop some of the paperwork and work with the title companies and so forth. So they're going to play a role regardless.
So is the EDA actively out pursuing leads to this property still then, even with this situation?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just about 2 months ago, we were running digital billboards in Metro Detroit on I-75, I-275, and 94. So that's one example. We recently developed some marketing materials that we sent out, and we're also in the process of having 2 new boards produced to replace those that we have on the site today. So, yeah, we've been continuing to market it, and of course, we're responding to the RFPs that come through the state.
Now, so they want an 11-month agreement and then month-to-month after that?
Sure, or you could renew, or you could cancel after that, if you choose. Any other questions? Great.
Well, I appreciate you going and getting something different to come before us with, because obviously, if we keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect something different to happen, that's the definition of insanity. So I appreciate what you did there.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, now we're going to get to the really exciting stuff. This is going to be our public hearing for the 2017-18 annual budget. This is Mr. Booth.
There are handouts on the end table, I guess you'd say, to your right. And I do have one extra for out. I know Allison, I think, was trying to avoid the numbers. I'll try and talk about them a little bit. So she gave you the reading. We're going to do the math now. So stop me at any time if you'd like, but thank you for being here this evening. I'd like to start out, the pages in the handout are numbered. I'm going to start out page 2. And that is the historical taxable value. That's in every year's budget. And I guess the key thing to point out there is the taxable value for 2017 versus the prior year is up 4.7%. And if you have any really detailed...
Got another one. Remember from McCartney is without.
If you need it, Mike, go ahead.
No, I've got electronic. I'm good. The assessor's here. She can answer any of those questions you have on how maybe they determine taxable value and those kinds of things. But no, it's you can see from historical here that starting in 2008, when the economy started its downfall, a steady decrease for a number of years. So obviously, we're limited to the amount that we can go up with Headley. And anything else there we should mention, Lynn? No?
So we're still $50 million lower than we were in 2007?
Yes. And that's taxable value, not tax. Next page, page 3, gives you the actual taxable value, any IFTs, and then you can see a small change in the operating millage is 13.0476. I believe it's 13.0581 maybe last year, so not much of a trim, but they did cut us a little bit. Tax revenue, $2,530,000. And you'll notice in the debt section that we had street debt that was issued. It was a 10-year piece. That matured this current fiscal year that we're in, so 2017. So the $488,640 is gone. And the taxpayers, what you will see, the next line item down, taxpayers approved the 2.4902 extension of 10 years of that millage amount, and that's captured as a road millage, not a debt millage. So you'll see roads being done to the tune of at least $482,000 a year. Okay. The pension fund is the is 1 mil, and then so for a total of 16.5378, and that is the City of St. Clair's millage. It does not include East China Schools, the county, and the school district and things like that. So it's just for the City of St. Clair.
So if you take all those other entities, that's how you get to the 52 or 4, or whatever it is.
Correct. Okay. Moving on, page 4 or slide 4 would be it's a pie chart of the general fund revenues for 2017-18. This pretty much stays flat from year to year. The biggest piece, of course, is the current property taxes at 71%. And if you compare that 2.578 to the number I had up earlier, it'd be off just slightly. There's a small component of penalties that gets booked in with this number here. State shared revenues is I should say the next largest piece, and that's 479,000, almost 480 at 13%.
How's that compare to last year, state shared?
It is down. I believe it's $4,400, and it was down the prior year as well, almost $4,000. So they keep kind of pecking away at it, the revenue sharing. They give us a little bit more, obviously, in the roads, and we'll get to the roads in a little bit. Okay. Slide 5, we'll hop over to the general fund expenditures, and I'll point out probably the 2 or 3 largest pieces here. Obviously, the police department at $873,000 almost is 24% of our budget. Fringe benefits, which makes up the next largest piece at $719,000 at 20%, and then streets and public maintenance. And then streets and public maintenance, what that is it's the amount that we transfer from the general fund to local and major streets. And then it's also our DPW. So,
Does the 872 of the police, does that include pension and health insurance?
does not.
So when we throw that in there, what do we got, about 1.2?
1.2 million. Yes. Okay. Okay, slide 6, some notes on the revenues and expenditures, the changes from last year to this year's budget. Property taxes with the increase were up 110,700. That was right on the state shared revenues, down 4,400, and then 3,900 from the previous year. Revenues in this budget include an increase to the amount reimbursed by the golf course. They did borrow some funds when they were having some issues financially. I bumped that up from $12,500 in the current year budget to $20,000 in the proposed budget. This will leave the balance for the golf course due to the general fund at $135,500. On the expense side, offsetting increase of $104,500. The largest increase is for the transfers out, and in particular, the largest increase is for the pension. That's $35,100. And then I'm also setting aside some additional funds for retiree health care. And then the police department budget's increased, and that's attributed to the, I do have one vehicle budgeted in there. Of course, before we could purchase that, I'd come back to council and ask for approval on it. So it's in there, and we'll go from there on that. That's it for the general fund. If there's any particular questions, I know council's had a chance to look at the budget itself. If there's any other questions, if there's not questions, actually, I'll move on to roads. Okay, I'll start with major streets. This is on slide 7, page 7. Revenues are projected to decrease $293,900. Seems like kind of a large number, right? Decrease as a result of the debt that is no longer being charged, received. The new road millage that we have in place is being split between the major streets and local streets based on miles for each. So 29 miles of total roads in the city, about nine of which are major. So that's the split on the total. So again, 155,900 from the road millage. State shared gas revenues are projected to increase by $38,700. And then major street expenses will decrease by $381,600, and that's again as a result of the debt retirement. During 2017, the current fiscal year, the city paid $488,900 in debt payments, and that was for principal and interest. So again, we're done with that. That's awesome. Construction repairs are projected to increase by $103,800. And then moving on to cash, the cash balance improved by $41,100 during 2016, which is our most recent fiscal audit. It finished with a balance of $453,000. Major street funds were being used during 2016 to repay Vine Street from Kearney to west of Cox, and then they will be utilized further in 2017 to complete St. Clair Highway, the section from M29 to 100 foot west of Goff. The pre-construction meeting actually on that project is being held tomorrow, which is, we will start seeing some road work. Local streets revenues are projected to increase by $348,900. Again, that's tied to the road millage that was passed. And that in itself is responsible for $332,700 of the increase. As with major streets, the state gas shared revenue is projected to increase only by $15,800. Local street expenses are projected to increase to $698,200. This is an increase of $341,700 over the prior year. Construction work is projected to increase by almost $350,000 over the prior year. Cash balance for local streets was $163,700, which was a decrease of $68,400 from the prior year. Local street funds were used to repave Troon during 2016 and will be utilized, or have been to some extent, for Hawthorne, Orchard, South 9th Street, in Trumbull during the 2017 fiscal year. So we did some of those projects at the end of last year. They were actually in October. So that's why you're seeing those streets again. And then I did mention Trumbull. That project, the bid opening on that is Wednesday. So I should have some information real soon on that. And we are considering other roads for repair. Anything as it relates to roads before we move on? I know quite a few numbers. And any questions on roads or some of the amounts? No? Okay. DDA, just probably next year I won't include this in here unless we get some big infusion, but 2017-18, still no tax capture. I believe the number's close to 2 million maybe, we're still in the red. And then the Clinton Avenue streetscape balance is 64.2 still. No one's volunteered to make a donation. Nothing much more there. Pension fund. Pension fund was in a negative position at the end of 2015 to the tune of $86,200. We did file a deficit elimination plan with the state of Michigan. They approved it. Fortunate for us, we received some money on our personal property tax that has been slowly phased out. The state is replacing some of that. We received a check. Some of that, based on the millage, was applied to the pension, and it actually helped us correct that in the 2016 fiscal year. So we went from a deficit position to a positive balance of almost 11,000. Not a great balance, but we'll take it. Golf course. This fund's deficit was eliminated during the 2014 fiscal year. The cash has improved from a negative $153,400 at the end of 2012 to a positive balance currently as of 9/30/16 of almost $110,000. During this budget cycle, the general fund will be reimbursed, and I did mention this earlier, the reimbursement amount will increase to $20,000. And I'd mentioned the amount that they still owe, $135,500. Going forward, I'll look to balance capital expenditures with attempting to shorten the payback time to the general fund. I know Mr. Beath has looked at the irrigation system down there, and I know that the price tag on that's quite high. And we've also looked at some golf carts. Butch, do you have any other items that he's been looking at that maybe I'm not mentioning?
Just some other ways that we're gonna try to, create some revenue.
Okay. Didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I
No,
know
it's
those two, the irrigation was a big one, and that, I don't think he has the funding currently maybe for it, but
No, I think that was in right around $60,000 is what we had it narrowed down to. And I think we were gonna postpone the purchase of the, golf carts until next year, get the irrigation fixed first.
thank you. Wastewater fund, a SAW grant is being utilized currently to clean and televise our stormwater system. If you see a big tanker truck that says Allstate on the side of it, that's the vehicle that's going in, and they're using the, it's a vac truck to clean the lines. So that's what they're doing around town. Again, that's being covered with a SAW grant. As we know from a recent council meeting, we are going to replace the Jeep and put a pickup truck in place for them. Currently, there is no millage for debt. We do have debt, again, with the SAW grant and a prior grant that we had, an S2 grant, I should say, two prior, for the sewer system. But that's being paid with fees on the system for sewer services. No charges are currently planned to rates for the upcoming budget cycle. Moving on to the water fund. Cash position has improved, and this one always makes me interested, or nervous, I guess, back when we were there, but September of 11, our cash balance was $4 on almost $1 million operation. As of 9/30/16, it was $492,000. So we're getting to the point where now we can make some capital improvements which are needed. The water fund had cash that was used to replace a section of water main on Waterloo over by 9th and 10th. During the next quarter of this year, additional funds will be utilized to replace a portion of the water main on St. Clair Highway. That's going to be done in conjunction with the replacement of the road over in that area. Going forward, we need to further increase the fund's cash balance so as to enable the replacement of more of our aging infrastructure. The latest estimate to replace water main on Goff, and I know we've brought this up many times, it's one of our worst mains in the city, and it's almost, I believe, a little more than $850,000. We're not approving this tonight, but I am going to ask for a 2% increase on the water charge only, not on the ready-to-service fees or any of those. We are moving in the right direction on our cash position, and we should be able to start, again, funding more of the projects that need to be done. Okay, moving on to the harbor. This operation has produced an increase to the cash balance of $32,600 during the 2016 fiscal year. I'm pleased that we added to our cash balance when considering that we made $30,400 in asset purchases. We also made a bond payment, which is going to run to 2026, and that's $30,000. And there were various other improvements that happened around the harbor. So that's all I have for the harbor. And then moving on to our final slide. I wouldn't say I left the best for last, but the retirements during the past several years, costs associated with retirements have been covered by the current year operating budgets. To illustrate, consider that the general fund, if you look back, was able to stay within budget and cover costs associated with the retirements for the admin and the police department. However, I would like to discuss a couple of pension-related items. From our December 31st, 2015 MERS annual valuation report, you'll find that our annual employer contribution expenses will increase from $723,000 And again, that's starting October 1 of 17 this year. They'll increase over a 5-year period to $1,080,528 for the period beginning October 1st of 2022. This is an increase of over 49% and have an estimated impact on our funds as follows. The general fund, almost $168,000, sewer fund, $45,000, and the water fund, $50,000. In the same report, you'll find that the city's net pension liability was $9,073,024 with a funding level of 59%. On page 36 of our audit, you'll find under post-employment benefits, you'll see that the city's funding rate is 0. That's because we don't have a separate trust set up for it. However, on page 39 of the financial statements, you'll see that we have reserved $960,000 for these future benefits, which is a funding rate of 26.4%. Work will continue to address both the pension and the retiree health care moving forward. Any questions on pension?
Well, those funding rates are, I mean, we know they're low. And obviously, we've got our work cut out for us, and I think that we need to stay focused and keep you driving the train here, I guess, but 59 and 26% is not gonna, I think the state's probably gonna come along very soon and say, you guys better figure something out, huh? Or has that already happened?
They haven't come along, no.
Not yet?
No.
Anybody else with anything, questions, comments?
Well, I got a question, Mike, on looking for the rubbish and garbage,
Yes,
$126,000 fund balance.
yes.
Why?
People pay penalties, and
Okay.
they accumulate.
What can we do with that money? Do we need that money in there?
What I'd like to do is, if you look back in the budget, you'll see that in the 2014 fiscal year, we refunded on people's utility bill a set amount. I would propose doing a similar thing again, to refund some of that, and what we would do is do it based upon just the number of users, and again, just refund it. We've also sometimes used a little bit of that at the end of the season if we want to extend pickup for seasonal waste. We can do that kind of stuff as well, and then not charge the resident. But yeah, that really is an in and out account, so we don't need the 126. Actually, the balance is 110 at the end of last year.
You couldn't use that to pay down part of the pension?
No,
They won't let us do
it's a
that?
user fee. They might come find me, Mike. Well, can't do it. No, we should refund it to the residents.
Anybody else with anything? Anything from the audience? Anything else, Mr. Booth?
That's all I have.
All right. Good job. Let's move to number 7 then. For instance, Resolution A. I'm sorry. Do I need a motion to do that?
No.
Okay, then I'm just gonna close the public hearing. Well,
Thank you.
the taxes, yeah. Thank you for that reminder. All right. So now I'm gonna go to number 7. Letter A, ordinance adoption 1703, chapter 62, utilities. Is this,
So I'll take that, Your Honor. As part of the city's MS4 permit application, and let's put stormwater system, there was some review that was done and grammatical errors were discovered. This ordinance makes the necessary changes as agreed to with the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality. I asked for approval to adopt the.
I would make a motion to approve the ordinance
Support.
adoption.
all right, the motion made, support, questions? Call the roll, please.
Ellery,
Yes.
Kinsfater.
Yes.
Kleeman,
Yes.
Laporte,
Yes.
McCartney.
Yes.
Cedar,
Yes.
carried, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. We'll go to B, Resolution 1705 MDOT Performance Resolution.
Take that as well, Your Honor. This resolution provides authority to apply for permits needed for road closures. Currently, the St. Clair Police Department takes care of these. This will allow both sergeants in our police department to apply for road closures, and myself.
So housekeeping, basically.
Yes.
So moved.
Support.
All right, questions? Call the roll, please.
Kinsfater,
Yes.
Kleeman,
Yes.
Laporte,
Yes.
McCartney,
Yes.
Ellery,
Yes.
Cedar,
Yes.
Carried, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. We'll go to C, Resolution 1706, lot split combine 406, South Third, 303, Cass. Lynn?
From the information that you have in your packet, there's three lots involved. Two of them have houses, one's a vacant lot. They'd like to take the vacant lot and split it between the two houses, and it gets rid of a non-conforming lot. So you have a copy of the survey that shows how they would like to split that.
I would make a motion to approve lot split.
I'll support.
Pretty simple.
All right, the motion is made, supported. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Kleeman,
Yes.
Laporte,
Yes.
McCartney.
Yes.
Ellery,
Yes.
Kinsfater.
Yes.
Cedar,
I'm going to abstain from this vote. This is my mom and my sister and brother-in-law, so I don't want anything to do with it. Okay?
Carried, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Number 8, reports of administration, Mr. Booth.
Several items this evening, Your Honor. First of all, Cass Trumbull, the project I mentioned earlier. Again, we'll do the boulevard downtown between Cass and Trumbull, and then Trumbull up to 9th. Wednesday of this week, the road project bid will be open. Strasser Construction, Inc. is the company that does the fiber mat. I know we've talked about it a few times here. They will be in the state during the month of June. So I may come back and ask, depending on the bid opening on Wednesday, I may come back and ask council to do a special, so we can approve this and take advantage of them being in the state in June, so we don't have to delay it till the back end of the season. St. Clair Highway pre-construction meeting again is tomorrow. Then I've got a few other items. Clutcha Park, and that, did we find out if that was, I think it's open?
Yes, the bathrooms are open.
Bathrooms are open. And I believe that they're leaving them open late. We were going to open them with the DPW and close them with the police department, but I'll probably double check that one to make sure it's happened, but I think we're good there. River Day is June 10th. I don't know if anyone here participates with River Day. It is on our website if you want to find out additional information. Family fun, free events, 7:30 to 11 o'clock, Cargill Kids Fishing Derby at Pine Shores Golf Course. 8 o'clock until 5 p.m., Cargill Paddle the Pine River at the St. Clair Boat Harbor. So that's one event. And then another one sponsored by the county is the Sturgeon Festival, and that is June 3rd from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And they have a website, sturgeonfestival.com. We have some flyers around City Hall too, if you want to look at that. But I believe they can pet sturgeons. They have a pool. I can go out on a boat and see them if you so choose. I think that kind of fills up quickly. I'm not sure on the timing on that, but kind of a neat event. And let me see. I think that's all I have for this evening, Your Honor.
Any questions for Mr. Booth? All right, go to B. Mr. Downey, you have anything tonight?
Nothing this evening, Your Honor.
The city departments? D's, authorities, boards, commissions, county, council, anybody? Anything? Okay, nothing under unfinished business. Number 9, number 10, new business, approved permit application for annual 4th of July fireworks display.
I'll take that, Your Honor.
Thank you.
The next 3 items pertain to our 4th of July fireworks event, which will be held on Tuesday, July 4th, 2017. The first item of business is the application for the fireworks permits. It's the same thing every year. The city has to apply for a permit to have the fireworks display.
I make a motion to approve.
Support.
All right, motion made, support. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? B, assignment of 4th of July vendor permit process to St. Clair Events.
The next item of business is requesting St. Clair Events, which is a local organization, to be authorized as a designated third party to coordinate the vendor permits for the 4th of July fireworks event. It's recommended to assign the process to St. Clair Events with Dave Lenarski as the chairman in compliance with the applicable sections of the city code.
I would move to make the assignment.
Support.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Go to C, extend 4th of July vendor hours.
Yep, simply stated, extending the vendor hours from 9 PM to 11 PM on the day of the event.
So move.
Support.
Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? D, special event permit for St. Clair Jazz Festival.
Okay, I do have a memo from Chief Jefferson stating he is in receipt of the request for approval for the special events permit for the St. Clair Downtown Authority to hold their St. Clair Jazz Festival on Saturday, August 19th, from 1 PM to 9 PM at Palmer Park in the Riverview Plaza. All the necessary documents have been received and they are in compliance with the city ordinance.
I would make a motion to approve.
Support.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll go to E, assignment of St. Clair Jazz Festival vendor permit process to St. Clair Events.
Same as 4th of July, but this would be for the St. Clair Jazz Festival to assign that process to St. Clair Events with Paul Wade as the chairperson for this event as the current chairman of the DDA.
So move.
Support.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Go to F, approve boathouse lease lot transfer. Is this you, Annette?
It is. This is a request to City Council to transfer the lease of one city-owned boathouse area property along the Pine River. The transfer is a result of direct sale to a person on the waiting list. This is for the boathouse address 1137 South 5th Street, which was currently leased to Raymond Scuda. And council approval is requested to transfer the boathouse lease lot from Scuda to Mr. Weidenbach. Once approved, the appropriate lease agreement will be drawn up for the signatures, and the lease will be considered transferred.
I'd make a motion to approve.
Support.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll go to G,
Thank you.
approve marketing proposal presented by Signature Associates. This is from Mr. Casey's presentation earlier.
I'd make a motion we approve.
I support that motion.
All right, the motion been made and supported to approve the presentation by Signature Associates. Any questions? All right, call the roll, please.
Laporte,
Yes.
McCartney?
Yes.
Ellery?
Yes.
Kinsfater?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Cedar?
Yes.
Carried, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Go to number 11, claims and accounts, May 5 and 12, 2017.
Hearing no questions, Your Honor, I make a motion to approve as presented.
Support.
All right, motion's made, supported. Anything, questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Go to number 12, public questions and comments. If anybody have anything for the good of the cause tonight? Go to number 13. I would like to take a moment and mention Jeff Bohm's family. You know, his father passed away, and I think it's only appropriate that we keep him in our thoughts and our prayers. Jeff Bohm's father passed away. Anybody else?
Hearing nothing else, Your Honor, I make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for coming. Be careful.